So Bonaire, first off, you say Bonaire. It's not Bon Air. It's Bonaire. And it actually means good air in Papiamento. That's what it means. Because Bonaire is flat. Okay, so Aruba's kind of hilly. Curacao is very hilly. Bonaire's flat. Like it has like one hill on like the whole island. Bonaire also has 18,000 people that live on it. Very small town. I got a flat tire. Well, my companion got a flat tire, and we got in the newspaper. Like, it's they have probably have been able to preserve their history very, very well. They still have slave huts from when the slaves were there. Yeah, they still have slave huts, and the slaves were brought there to be work in the salt mines. So they wouldn't actually mine salts out of like in caves, but the salt water was brought in and harvested in a certain process that they're able to have the water evaporate and harvest the crystals. They're big crystals. There's actually ginormous piles of salt. They're huge. You can see them almost anywhere on the island. And they will load them and send them to different places of the world. So that's one basic job that people have. And then the other is they work in tourism. And all of these islands, there's so many cruise ships that come through, but mostly in Aruba and Bonaire. Bonaire, it is very hard because no one really stays there. They'll live there for a very long time. There's really only two towns. There's Kralendijk, and that's where like everyone lives, and there's like little subdivisions. And then there's way out on the other side. And Bonaire is pretty big as well. So not way out, but probably like a 30-minute drive. That's way out for them. There's a place called Rincon, and Rincon is where most of the elderly live. So that's where you probably use Papiamento the most. That's where mine got like really good, was because that's where like 80, 90-year-old native Bonaireans live. And they have lived there their whole life, and most of them only speak Papiamento at that point. They might know a little other words of English or Dutch just because they haven't used it. They've kind of lost it. They haven't been in school, so they've lost a lot of their Dutch. And that's just mainly in Rincon. You go back to Kralendijk, and there's a lot. There's a lot of people vacationing from different countries that have vacation homes there, because Bonaire has probably the clearest water of the ABC Islands. It's like, and has the most extensive, if that makes sense. It's like everywhere. And its main attraction for tourism is scuba diving. There's ginormous scuba diving schools. There's so many. And because it is fully dependent on the Netherlands, there's so many tourists that are from the Netherlands, like so many. And a lot of people that work there are from the Netherlands. I actually don't know how many Bonaireans actually, as part of the population. There's 18,000, but there's definitely a different amount. The rainy season for the ABC Islands is like between probably like November and January. Doesn't rain too much. It actually like hit a record for like how much it rained when I was there. It rained a good amount, I guess. It was kind of muddy for a little while, but Bonaire, because everything's flat, most roads are not the best. A lot of them are dirt roads. Curacao and Aruba have better roads. And just also because it's just such a small population. I mean, there's just not a huge emphasis on that, I guess. You will be able to eat the most iguana on Bonaire. I also, when I was there, I had conch. So, you know those conch shells that people like put up through the ear. The animal inside of them, they'll cook it, and they kind of like, it's kind of like an onion ring. I thought it was, but it's not. And it tastes really good. You know that if they've eaten the conch or they just found the shell, if the shell is broken on part of it, because they broke it and took out the conch to cook it. So if the shell is completely intact, it means that they did not actually eat it. It was empty when they found it. Bonaire is definitely, it's called good air because it's flat, and so the wind just blows so hard against you. It's also a very, very small community. And so when I was there, like, you meet someone and they're the cousin of someone else. So that helps you get in the door most times. Like, oh yeah, I know your cousin. There's, once again, a lot of people from Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic, different parts of the world as well. Definitely not as much as Aruba, but definitely still a significant amount that you will meet people from different. Bonaire is very chill. It's very relaxed, probably out of most of them. It's just kind of slow. It's just happy the way it is. You know, you come there for just being relaxed and just to get time away. As far as kind of like landscaping, it probably is not as much as a desert as Aruba. It's okay. It has a pretty good amount of trees, I guess. One thing they're definitely known for in Bonaire is the flamingos that are there. And they actually are naturally there. That's their natural home that they've chosen. So something called a go-to lake. There's hundreds and hundreds of flamingos. And that is one thing they're hugely known for, is because of them. You see like flamingos. Just bright pink flamingos flying around. So it's kind of cool. That's definitely a huge tourist attraction that they have. They also have a special bird, a parakeet, I think, that's only specifically in Bonaire located. So there's a lot of bird watchers that actually come searching for that. As far as Bonaire, it was in Rincon, that is where the slaves lived. And they would have to travel south and walk all the way down to Kralendijk, where they would work in the salt and to harvest the salt. And they would have to do that. And so then they would have one day, Sunday, where they could walk home to see their family, try and give the family anything that they've earned, which is like nothing. And so the family can have food, and then they have to walk back that night, multiple hours. And that was, once again, hundreds of years ago, but it's still very much a part of their history. They've preserved it very well. And most of the time, the women and children would search or scavenge for food during that time. So a lot in Bonaire, you will see a lot of houses that were actually originally houses that were slave huts. Not necessarily these slave huts, but more of, once they became more free, huts that were made a long time ago from dirt. They're still there. Like, people still use them. They put electricity in them. And they're painted different colors, so it's very cool. You'll see some pretty old houses. And they're still on the dirt roads. Like, people have lived in the house for over 100 years. So that's one thing that I thought was very interesting about Bonaire. The other thing would be the donkeys. There are wild donkeys on all three. But on Bonaire, they're everywhere. Sometimes I think there's more donkeys than people. And especially if they're there during the mating season, you will hear them. And so they actually have signs overtaking the Azels, which means like donkey crossing. It's because during the mating season, the males will see a female and just run across the street, and there's so many accidents. So the government's gotten better. They created a donkey sanctuary. So during mating time, they can all corral them into kind of one place so they don't cause as much traffic accidents. And I mean, yeah, they're just, you ride your bike right past them, they're just everywhere. So in all three islands, ABC Islands, most of the stores are owned by Chinese people. And so we actually do have some Chinese Book of Mormons there. Most of them speak Little Papiamentos. It's very hard to communicate with them. So most of the stores, they're individually owned. So they're called chinos. At least that's what most people call them. I'm going to the chino. It's just like the closest little tiny market. And there's a lot of different stories about why they're there. Some people say there were slaves brought over and then they stayed there. Some people say that China paid them to leave and to come. There's a lot of different. The main point is that it is like a family business, and most of the time they stay there, and the business has been run by that family, and they just keep it going. And so most of the time we go to different chinos, like if we got a flat tire, to get a tube. for our tires. And so that's also where you'd go like grocery shopping. It's kind of hard to find like bigger stores than that.